Good morning or good evening, everyone, depending on where you are. Welcome to our 2023 Pāḷi Dhamma teaching series. We're very honored to have Venerable Panadika Lankara to continue on the series on the profound Pāli Nikāya study and discussion on its daily implications. We're also very honored to have University of the West Religious Studies Department in California, USA, and Pāļi Sandara Bumi, Indonesia, to co-host this series. Today is part 6 of the Nikāya study. It is scheduled for 1.5 hours, including Q&A. Before teaching starts, here are a few housekeeping reminders. We are using simultaneous interpretation Zoom functionality for today's teaching. First, let's briefly go over the channel selection and take a minute to select your preferred language channel. If you see this globe icon on your Zoom screen on the bottom, this is the interpretation icon. Please click on it to choose English, Chinese, Indonesian, or Vietnamese according to your language preference. If you like to listen to English, we also suggest you click on the globe icon to select the English channel rather than stay at off or the original sound channel. Otherwise, you will not be able to hear the English interpretation from Chinese, Indonesian, or Vietnamese during the Q&A portion. If you use a cell phone or mobile device, after you select the channel, please make sure to click Done to complete the selection. Now, please go ahead to select your preferred language channel. If you have any questions, send them to Zoom's chat room. Just a quick reminder about proper Dhamma learning etiquette. Even though this is a virtual Zoom session, please dress appropriately, sit upright, and pay full attention during the teaching to show respect to the teacher and the Dhamma. Thank you for your cooperation. May we invite Sayadaw to start the teaching and Interpreter Bande and Interpreter Dhamma friends to start the interpretation, please. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, thank you and welcome everyone for Nikāya study lesson 6. Let's start our today's Nikāya study, reciting the Namo Tassa 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, welcome to lesson 6. And today's lesson we will finalize about the Samanyaphala Sutta. We have already studied two lessons about this Sutta on the fruits of the ascetic life. It is on the question of Kin Ajadasatu, what are the fruits of ascetic life? And the Buddha explained the fruits of ascetic life. And before he gave his right answer, and he has asked Kin Ajadasatu whether he has asked this same question to other religious people. And on the answer of King Ajadasatu, we have learned that the view of different views of, or we can see the different answer of 6 teachers Okay, so today's lesson, we will emphasize the Buddha answer. So what are the fruits of ascetic life, as mentioned by the Buddha himself? There we have already studied about the preliminary requirements and further practice. Then before that, Buddha explained the fruits or benefits of the ascetic life. It can be seen here and now in this life. But King Ajatasattu continue asking to explain the higher fruits. So Buddha explained about the practice. We can say this Sutta explain the whole practice of Buddhism. So at the beginning, Buddha explained the moral precept. So practicing moral precept as the benefits of the Buddhism. So the moral precept is divided into 3 parts. So we already studied in the first sutta. And in this sutta, so we are not focusing on that basis requirements. And we will continue our study about the higher fruits of the ascetic life. So it is interesting why you can ask a Buddhist monk why you are being a Buddhist monk and what kind of fruit you are expecting for the being a bhikkhu, being a Buddhist monk. So according to this sutta, so being a Buddhist monk, he need to fulfill the moral practice. After that, he continue restraining his 6 things. So eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Among these 6 things, if we are not restraining, so the evil mind can be aroused in the process, in the individual, we can say. So in this way, being control 6 things, we can achieve the higher achievement. After that, the Buddha point of the mindfulness and clear awareness to attain the higher benefits as the preliminary requirements. Then the last basis requirement, Buddha's mentioned about the contentment. So being content by the dressing and food, and we can reduce our works and focus on the practice. So these are 4 requirements as a foundations of the Buddhist mind's practice. Then after fulfillment of 4 requirements, he is ready to meditate in solitary lodging. So he can find anywhere in a secluded area, or whether it is in the forest or under the tree or inside the cave, anywhere. He can start his meditation to find out the spiritual achievement. After that, in the sutta, Buddha mentioned the right posture. So it is very popular. We don't need to explain here, and we can learn anywhere. So sitting cross-legged and keeping upper body right in the position of meditation. Then important thing is he need to abandon 5 mental hindrances. So in this sutta, we will start in today's lesson, abandoning 5 mental hindrances with the example. So at the beginning, we have to know what are the mental hindrances that can block our mental development. So for monks, Buddhist monks, we are searching for the spiritual achievement. If the mind is blocked by the mental hindrances, we cannot expect to attain the higher achievement. So as the basis requirement, we need to try to remove the mental hindrances first. So these are sensual desire. The first mental hindrance is sensual desire. So being a meditator or being a big Buddhist monk, you need to practice to abandon sensual desire. So at the beginning, it is not easy to remove completely. Then need to reduce. Whenever sensual desire arises, and observe and trying to reduce, trying to overcome. And later on, the time of sensual desire will be reduced. And also the power of sensual desire should not be that strong. So in this way, the meditator can abandon sensual desire. So in this sutta, for each mental hindrances, the examples are given. So let's see the example. The Buddha explained, suppose a man take a loan to develop his business. Under this situation, he is considered as he need to pay a debt. It means under sensual desire, he is paying his debt. So later on, when he succeed and prosper in his business, and he already paid his old debts, and with the leftover properties, he can support his wife and his children. So in this way, in the same way, if the meditator could abandon his sensual desire, he does not need to pay a debt. So he is free. It means whenever you have desire to something to get, to enjoy, it's a kind, for the practitioner, it's a kind of hindrance. So that's why consider it is paying debt. The second mental hindrance that can block your mental development is evil or hatred. So when we get angry, we cannot develop our mental practice. So for meditator, he should abandon evil and hatred and trying to be compassionate and trying to love and trying to find for the welfare of all beings. In this way, he is free from the second mental hindrance of evil or hatred. The example is given that if a person was ill and suffering or terribly sick, and the anger or the hatred is considered as the sickness. So if we can overcome anger and live with a compassionate mind, with a compassion, so we are free from the mental illness, not physical illness. So this is second mental hindrance to overcome. So the third one, when we try to meditate, so focusing on meditation object, become sleepy. So it's considered as the third mental hindrance. So sloth and torpor. So drowsiness come and we cannot focus, we cannot be mindful, and we cannot pay attention on the right object. So we have to overcome that sloth and torpor. So the example is given that in this case, the man is bound in prison. So like this, he cannot do whatever he like because he is in prison. So for after that, he was out of the prison. So he can do according to his own will. In the same way, if we can overcome drowsiness we can develop our mind, we can develop our practice. Then the fourth mental hindrance is the worry and flurry. So if we worry and if our mind is distraction, we cannot practice, we cannot develop our practice. That's why we need to calm down our mind and overcome the worry and flurries. So this is very important. Whenever the meditators start to practice, always report about the distressing or wandering thought always occupy his practice. Then this is considered as the being a slave or wandering thought. So if we can overcome, we become a master. So we are not anymore. We are not slave anymore. And we become a master, and we can order our mind. We can control our mind. Then the last mental hindrance is doubt. Doubt, whether this practice is correct or not, always doubt. So you cannot develop. So having the proper understanding about the way of practice and about the object, about the way of development, then we can overcome the doubt. So here in this case, the doubt is compared to the journey through the desert. So if you are going desert with a little food, and if you have doubt, and you will be in trouble. So we have to overcome doubt in the practice. Okay, so if the meditator or practitioner could overcome 5 mental hindrances, he's considered as free, as free from debt, free from sickness, mental sickness, free from bonds, free from slavery, and also he already overcome the hard journeys or difficulties inside in the journey of desert. So it means he could develop for the primary stage. Then we can consider his mind that if meditator can overcome 5 mental hindrances, so his meditation practice is pretty improved. Then we can observe his mind. In his mind, the gladness arise in him. In the practice, he become happy and glad to be observed, glad to observe the object, glad to practice. So we don't need to encourage, or you don't pay attention on something, some out of the practice, because he himself feel the gladness inside him through the practice. After that, he feel delightful feeling. After that, his mind is tranquilized. So by these qualities, we can assume he is pretty good in meditation. Then he feel joy. It's called happiness, happy mind in meditation. With the happy mind, he can develop concentration. His mind become concentrated. So in this level, the meditator is happy to practice, happy to develop his concentration, overcoming 5 mental hindrances. Then the Buddha start to explain the benefits or the fruits of ascetic life, the attainment of jhana, high concentration, not only ordinary concentration, high concentration. We can find the very high blissful state through the meditation. It is called jhana. So jhana is divided into 4 in the material statement. So material attainment, 1st jhana, 2nd jhana, 3rd jhana, and 4th jhana. But this is considered as the successfulness or the attainment of the concentration practice. So between the 2 training or moral training and concentration training, we need to know what are the preliminary requirements. Then we need to know what are the suitable place and how we should meditate. And by the abandonment of five mental hindrances, we start to achieve spiritual achievement in the practice. Then finally, we attain the first, second, third, and up to the fourth jhana. These are successful states of the concentration practice. After that, Buddha is playing the 8 kinds of knowledge as the achievement of the wisdom training. So in this case, not all 8 are considered as the wisdom. Although these are mentioned by the word of the knowledge, jnana, most of them, if we say exactly the 6 of them are considered as the concentration-based wisdom, concentration-based knowledge. Here, Buddha explained the 8 knowledges. The meditator or the bhikkhu, the monks, can attain through the practice of the ascetic life. So if you are a lay person, it's not necessary to ordain. And if you practice moral precept, if you practice concentration, you still can achieve. And also, if you continue practicing the wisdom, you still can attain 8 knowledges. So here, the first knowledge is called the vipassana jnana. So it is very popular one. In the meditation, the insight meditation is called the vipassana. So vipassana jnana, we already explained briefly, is the knowing and seeing about the life phenomena of the life. So here we will study one by one. The first knowledge of vipassana jnana is mentioned by the Buddha. So we have to aware that before we practice vipassana jnana, it is better to practice the concentration, because here in this sutta, the Buddha already mentioned when the mind is concentrated. So mind is concentrated, we can practice properly. We can observe the phenomena of the life, materialities and mentalities properly. If our mind is not concentrated, it is hard to observe. It is hard to keep on the right object because our mind is under the sensual desire or evil or hatred or sleepiness. We cannot easily concentrate. We cannot easily focus on the right object. That's why here the requirement for the wisdom training is concentration. So here, when the mind is concentrated and purified, the purify means no more mental hindrances. At that moment, the meditator can direct or incline his mind toward the right object to know and to see, so not to attain the knowledge and vision. Okay, here the vipassana practice inside knowledge is mentioned on the 2 objects of body and mind. So when we observe our body through the vipassana practice, insight meditation practice, so body, we have to know this is materialities, composed of materiality, and made up from the 4 great elements. So it is very obvious 4 great elements for Buddhist practitioner. So it is the earth element, wind element, and water element, and fire elements. So inside our body, we can find out the natures of 4 great elements. Then we recognize our body is made out of 4 great elements. If you can direct your mind to 4 great elements, and you can say, I'm practicing vipassana meditation. I'm developing my insight knowledge. And on the other hand, you can also, my body is born of my mother and father, my parents, Well, this seemed to be easy way at the beginning. So my body is that to identify our meditation object. And for the foreground element, it will be a little bit difficult at the beginning. Then also you can continue observing the nature of material body. And finally, you can see the arising and dissolution of material phenomena inside your body. So it's become a higher level of the inside knowledge. But at the beginning, you cannot see. You just need to be aware of the real statement of physical body. After that, here in this sutta, the Buddha gives just a short expression about the vipassana practice on consciousness. The consciousness is supported by the body, physical body. Whenever your consciousness, your mind arises, you can find out it based on your physical body. For example, eye consciousness. When you see something, eye consciousness arises in your mental process. So it based on your physical body of eye base, eye sensitivity. Without your eye, you cannot see. It means seeing consciousness, eye consciousness cannot arise. So in the same way, when you hear something, based on your eardrum and ear sensitivity, so whatever consciousness arises, you can find out the consciousness is supported by physical body. But this is the short expression about the vipassana meditation on the mentality. So both material body and mental body, we can say the mentality group can be observed by the inside knowledge. This is the first stage of wisdom training. So you know clearly about your physical body, you know clearly about your mind. So this is called vipassana jnana. So when we continue reading the Nikāya study and sutta, we will learn in other sutta how the Buddha explained about the vipassana meditation practice. So in this sutta, we will move on another knowledge. But before that, the Buddha explained the example of the knowing and seeing, vipassana jnana. So it is the gem crystal clear. So then inside that, if we keep the strength, and we can see the strength inside the gem, in the same way, if we observe our physical body and our mind, we can see clearly it is nature. So arising and passing away. Just like we keep the gem on our own hand and we see. So we can observe this is the way how we can practice vipassana jnana, inside knowledge. And second benefits in the Western training is called the knowledge of production of mind-made body. So if a person, based on the concentration, develop to the higher level of knowledge, he can produce mind-made body. So maybe you can find anyone who can produce, but not everybody, not every bhikkhu can produce. So here in this sutta, it is mentioned that by the powerful knowledge, a person can produce mind-made body. Is made up of mind completely, the same as the real individual, real person with the full limbs and faculties. So it is just like the stretching out a reed from the seed, and sword from the sakravat, or the snake from the old skin. These examples are given, but you can understand the mind-made body is produced by the real body. So if a bhikkhu a monk's practice well, and he can do this in the successfulness of the mandate training. And the third one is the knowledge to perform the various supernormal power. And so various mood or supernormal powers are mentioned here. He can pass through the mountain without any hindrance, and also flying in the sky. So walking on the water, but nowadays we don't see anybody is doing this. Cross-leg in the sky, but it means if the mind is trained and the practice successful, the person can do. So it can be counted as the thought fruit of the mandate training, in the knowledge, training of the wisdom. So here the example is given that like the potter or the ivory covers, he can do whatever he likes if he is skillful enough. In the same way, if a person is skillful enough in the wisdom training, he can perform the different types of the miracle performance. Or another knowledge is knowledge of divine ears. So here divine ear is not really divine. Actually, it is similar to the divine ears. So he can hear the sound, both divine and human, whether far or near. So it does not make any difference. He can hear. So this is a power of wisdom. Then the example is given that when a person is going a journey and taking a journey, and on the way he's here a drum, we already know, and small drum or whatever instrument is playing, and he know clearly in the same way. So if a practitioner could develop the knowledge up to this level, he can hear far distance, any voice, any sound he hear, and he can identify. Then the fifth benefit of wisdom training is the knowledge of reading others' mind. So if meditator successful in his practice up to this level, he can read others' mind, and he can know and distinguish with his mind. It means knowing others' mind by his mind. So here in this Sutta is mentioned different classification of minds. Sometimes the person have the mind with passion, so passionate mind. He can know, so this person have the passionate mind, or if not, without passion. And also with the hatred or with delusion, so he can read and he can identify. After that, and he can classify into different types. He has a narrow mind, or he has broad mind, or expanded mind, concentrated mind, unconcentrated mind, or liberated mind, unliberated mind, like this. So he can analyze other people's mind into different types. In this Sutta, it is mentioned into 16 types. Then the example is given that is a man or woman, he like to see his appearance, and he see he look in the mirror. So he already know whether it is spot or not, on his face, his or her face. In the same way, he can read others' mind by the knowledge. So if you like to read others' mind, you need to practice the concentration-based meditation up to the knowledge, that level of knowledge. Then the last three are very important. So number 6, the knowledge of previous existence. So if a meditator develops his inside knowledge up to this level, he can recollect his past life. Not only one or two, he can recollect hundreds or thousands of lives. with the name and with the clan. So what was my name in the past life and previous life? What are my names in the sequence he can follow and he can recollect according to the achievement. After that, this kind of practice can give that person to have a confidence. Our life is continuing according to condition. So this is dependent origination. So if someone has this ability to recollect the past existence, and he knows, oh, this is not only life come to appear and disappear, still have the previous life in this way. And also keep going, observing. So I was born there, and after death moment, and I was born another realms or existence, and up to this life. So being dead, being died there, and I was born here. So the process of life come to appear in his knowledge. Then he remember detail. So the example is given. We visit some villages, then we reach here, and when we talk back, so at the beginning I was there, and I visit that village. After that, I take this road, and I reach another village, and finally I came here. In the same way, if a person have ability to recollect previous life, he can have this kind of knowledge. He can observe and he can claim himself. Then seventh knowledge is divine eyes. So here divine eye is mentioned about the knowledge of the passing away and arising of the living beings. So by the knowledge of divine eye, we can observe if a person is going to die. After near death moment, what happened? After that moment, he reborn where? Now we can identify. This is the knowledge. Whoever have this knowledge, and he can observe, pay attention on this certain individual, if it is near death moment, and he can find out cause and effect relationship. And this divine eye is considered as the knowledge, not really eye. He's not using his physical eye. He used his knowledge to observe this passing away and arising of the beings. So he can find out the different beings, inferior, superior, beautiful, ugly, or fortunate beings or unfortunate beings. And also with the divine eye, the power of divine eye knowledge, he understands beings fares according to their karma, their action they had done in the life. So if we consider our life here, we were born, according to Buddhism, we were born due to the karma. So karma produce our life, and karma managing our life, the good and bad situation we encounter many cases. But still, for the human being, we can still use our own effort and knowledge to overcome our difficulties. So here, when he observes using the knowledge of divine eye, he sees these beings who are endowed with the bad conduct of body, speech, and mind, and they are performing evil action in the life. By this karma, by the power of this karma, and for the next life, he was born in the plane of misery, awful state, bad destination. So here is just mentioned the cost. He is insulting the great person, great people, and holding the wrong view, undertaking the wrong action in this life. So this life action will cause the next life in the miserable land, the miserable plane of existence. In the same way, those are being born in the miserable existence can be considered as due to their own action they had done in the past. So in the opposite way, people are beings in the good conduct of body, speech, and mind, properly behaving and with a compassionate mind, and holding the right view, understanding cause and effect relationship can be considered to be born in the good destination after this life. So, this is just theory. So if you want to know or if you want to identify by your own experience, you need to practice up to the achievement of the knowledge of divine eye. You can identify yourself. Then for the example of divine eye, the Buddha gave, suppose a man was standing in the building at a crossroad with a good eye. He was standing and he can observe the people entering this side and the other side, also crossing the road and leaving the house or walking on the street, sitting in the middle of the crossroads somewhere. So in the same way, by using divine eye, he can see the living beings down here and performing this wrong action, they were born there, and performing the good action, they were born there due to their own karma, their own action. So in this case, we can find out the two functions of divine eye. So these two functions are mentioned in different sutta. Here, the visible form, observing the visible form near or far, tiny or great, fine or gross, it doesn't matter. If it is visible form, by using the knowledge of divine eye, you can see. And this is one function. Another function is, as mentioned in this sutta, observing the person and arising or being according to their condition. Okay, so for the last achievement of mental training is called the knowledge of the destruction of corruption of the mind. So our mind is not that powerful due to the corruptions, which is called asava in Pāļi. So it's translated as corruption or cancers or taints that make deluded our mind, that cause the defilement inside our mentalities. So if we can remove, our knowledge become clear about the realities of the truth. Four noble truth here mentioned. The first noble truth is about the noble truth of suffering. So observing mentality and materiality, we can learn what it means suffering. And observing the cause of suffering, we can find out what are the origins of suffering. So in the first sermon of the Buddha, he mentioned that the cravings or attachment to the life is the origin of suffering, and the cessation of suffering through the development of the Noble Eightfold Path, the specific quality of the mind, he can attain the cessation of suffering and liberation from the suffering. Also, he knows what are the corruption, what are the origin of corruption, what are the cessation of corruption, and what are the paths leading to the cessation of corruption. So generally, we can see the mental development or mental practice meditation is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So by this belief or
Sadhu, we cannot hear you. I think this. Okay, I think Sado is back. Yeah.
Okay, sorry for interruption. Okay, let me continue and finish my explanation here. Almost done, almost done. Okay. So here, the first fruits in the Western training, and the last one, the destruction of the mental corruptions is connected. So if we skip the six, the middle six is okay. So if you practice inside meditation and development of knowing and seeing, you attain the destruction of corruption of your mind, and your mind is delivered from corruption. So corruption of sense desire, corruption of becoming a new life. If you attain in this knowledge, in the level of this knowledge, and you will not be reborn in any realm of existence. So according to Buddhism, as long as we have an existence, we still have a kind of suffering, more or less. So after the attainment of this knowledge of the deliverance of corruption, so no more life and ultimate peace remain. And this is the final destination of Buddhist practice. And the free from the corruption of ignorance. So by the power of knowledge, we can overcome the ignorance. Then in this way, he knows himself, or the knowledge arises in me. Or I already attained the highest level of knowledge. This is deliverance. So in this way, he can claim the bus is finished, no more rebirth, and holy life has been led, already practiced up to the highest achievement. So I have done whatever I have to be done in this life cycle, and there is nothing further here and in future, so no more future. In this way, he can be out of his suffering cycle. So it is mentioned that if someone have the good eyesight and he was standing on the bench of the pond and he see clearly in the crystal water, so he see the fish are going around, So in the same way, he know his attainment, his achievement, the state of achievement. So the bus is finished, etc. So the Buddha mentioned, the Buddha finalized to answer the question of the King Ajatasattu, what are the fruits of ascetic life? And the Buddha keep the highest position, this knowledge at the highest position of the ascetic life. So if someone want to practice for this level of achievement, he can start from the moral tier. So without the morality, it is almost impossible, we can say that. Then in this way, after the Buddha gave this answer to the King Ajatasattu, he claimed, he rejoiced. And after that, he claimed, this is very clear to me. When he approached to the sixth teacher, he couldn't get the proper answer in this way. And finally, he could found. And after that, the king take refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and he claimed himself as a lay follower. I will also be practicing this as much as I can. So please regard me as your follower, and I'm following to your guidance. Then after that, this is interesting. The king continued to apologize the Buddha. Actually, he is not doing something wrong to the Buddha, but he killed his own father. His father was a good follower of the Buddha. His father already died, so he just confessed his fault, his evil deal. What he explained is here, may the Buddha accept my compassion of my evil deed, that I may restrain myself in the future. So here the compassion does not stop. I did it. It continues to allow me to restrain myself in the future. I'm not repeating this kind of evil deed in my life. So we can do this kind of confessions toward the respected person. So I did it. Yes, we cannot correct the past. It's already done. But we have to make sure I'm going to restrain myself not to do the same mistake in the future. Then the Buddha also accept his compassion, right? You already made this kind of transgression. So, but then you confess, we accept it for your future restrainers. And also the Buddha mentioned, so if someone make mistake and he should know fast and he should confess, I made this, other than deceiving or covering our own faults. So better to reveal ourselves as it is. After that, we confess our confession and we trying to restrain ourselves not to repeat it again and again in the future. Then finally, the king, he left to the Buddhas and the Sangha, the audience. Then the Buddha gave the comment, because this king has done the serious mistake, serious fault, killing his own father. Otherwise, he could develop his knowledge up to the attainment of Dhamma Ain, spotless Dhamma Ain, to the achievement of enlightenment, if he pay attention on the Buddha's teaching properly. But now he has done a serious crime, killing his own father. He cannot restore, and he has the mind regretting on that, and he could not concentrate well. And also he lost the opportunity to have this kind of achievement. But anyway, he could confess and he could make determination not to make anything wrong in this way. Okay, so well, thank you for your attention. And this is how the Buddha explained on the question, what are the fruits? What are the fruits of the ascetic life? So if you want to know, and you need to read more and you need to discuss more. Thank you for your attention. And let's continue to Q&A session.
Sayadaw, thank you very much for your teaching. We have 37 minutes left.
Okay.
First, we have a few announcements to make. May we open the floor for today's questions after the announcements?
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. During each session, Sayadaw will explain the outline of every sutta one by one. Here is homework assignment for this Nikāya study series. For our next homework assignment, Sayadaw would like us to read the translated third sutta of the Digha Nikāya in your preferred language to prepare ourselves before the next study session in 2 weeks. Please take notes during your readings. Submit your questions to our email address, americadhammasociety@gmail.com, and they will be answered accordingly. Here's the Google Drive link to Pāli, English, Chinese, Burmese, Indonesian, and Vietnamese of the Digha Nikāya. On this link, you can also access the lecture notes of this teaching series. Lecture notes are also translated into Chinese, Indonesian, and Vietnamese. We have posted this link in the Zoom chat room. You can copy it now or reach out to us for more information. In 2 weeks, at the same time, we will have Sayadaw Upanadika Lankara continue this Nikāya study series, part 7. We'd like to express our sincere gratitude to Sayadaw Yukumara Vivamsa, who completed 25 inspiring teachings on the Buddha's last day. When we have future teaching series available, they will be announced on our website. Please do not forget to check out our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. We have YouTube channel playlist for Nikāya studies, teachings, and Q&A. If you would like to offer allowable requisites to the teachers, you can also use PayPal or mail a check. Any further suggestions or inquiries, please contact us. Our sincere thanks to our co-host, University of the West Religious Study Department in California, USA, and Pāļi Sandara Bumi, Indonesia.